Hi, I'm Edison Chen, Creative Director of CLOT, here to present you Spring Summer 21 Chinese Hawaiians. Since having my baby, I've been staying in Los Angeles a lot, also kind of frequenting and using Japan as my stop when I need to go to Shanghai or Beijing so that my wife and daughter can be there. So Hawaii is actually kind of like a sweet spot in between Los Angeles and Japan. In going to Hawaii, I wanted to study a little bit about their fashion and the people that make their fashion. So I walked into this store called Kona Bay just to kind of look at what they made. And on the walls, they had vintage Hawaiian shirts from the 1950s and 1960s and stuff. And I think my wife went insane and bought a lot that day, and he became my friend. So immediately after that purchase and that sale, I asked him if we could do a collab. And he agreed. So this is 100% made in Hawaii, very classic Hawaiian shirt company. They call it Aloha Shirt, actually. They say Hawaiian shirt is what tourists call it. I thought it would be interesting to kind of add some Hawaiian vibes to knits because it's kind of very rarely seen. It's mostly on kind of Hawaiian rayon shirts. So kind of getting this Hawaiian wreath, you know, when you go to Hawaiian land, usually when you go to a hotel or you see your relatives, they come and give you all the flowers. So, you know, that's where that came from. And this is just like a kind of like a Buddha-like ancient Chinese motif that's given a Hawaiian vibe, Hawaiian look. This kind of goes back to the story of the first Chinese being in Hawaii, saying that actually the first Chinese that were on American soil were people that would refuge from the boats on the way to the West Coast. So that's why there's a very interesting Chinese community in Hawaii. Trying to put these two together, and then kind of, you know, that led to what kind of clothing and what silhouettes we were going to put into the collection. My kind of favorite piece is kind of what I'm wearing. It's using Hawaiian fabrics or Hawaiian inspired fabrics and just making what we call a Chinese shirt. You know, it's frog buttons, it's got the Chinese collar. So it's kind of elevating the original culture of what Hawaiian clothing or what Hawaiian pop culture and giving it our Chinese twist. This collection actually is the first time that I have a co-creative director. He's called Prepare, because he's always prepared. I'm just kidding, but fuck. And it's been an interesting journey. So I gave him a general kind of brief on what the season should look like, what it should feel like. This is actually the photo that started the idea of doing something with Hawaii, because I'm always going to Hawaii. And if you can recognize, this is actually a photo from Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball, when he was a little kid. So, you know, me and Prep were talking about watching this cartoon when we were kids and thinking about actually living on an island, and we did live on an island, which is Hong Kong, and kind of like our adventures, and then we talk about how our crew, oh, this guy's that guy, this guy's that guy, and I was like, oh, we should probably just use this as the inspiration, since we're both vibing off of it, and since I'm always going to Hawaii, I'll give you all these Hawaiian shirts, I'll show you all these pictures, and this is kind of what kicked off the season. This is one of my favorites. Is just, we always use our CLOT logo and try to arrange it with different stuff, and obviously this time it's just the Hawaiian hana and putting our logo up in there. This is a fan favorite. If you're a CLOT fan and you've been following the brand, you'll actually see a little bit of a refresh from the classic silhouettes that we've had, because Prep came in and did his thing on it. And I'm really happy about the way that he's keeping the original vein, but adding some more contemporary finishing on our collection, on our look, and on our aesthetics. You know, a lot of our fabrics are super lightweight with a kind of a mix and match, just because Hawaiian things are so florally and colorful and out there. Just trying to juxtapose these like normal fabrics with some more kind of colorful Hawaiian hits. There's some things that we use this piece and this piece is to double layer mesh to create jackets that are usually more heavy in nature and what you probably won't be able to find to wear in Hawaii. So it's like a parka right here, a zip-up parka that's mesh with a Hawaiian floral overlay. We made these souvenir jackets. So souvenir jackets are kind of prevalent to Japanese and Hawaiian history. We chose the moon and the sun. And the moon actually means month, and this actually means day. It's kind of like giving the Chinese folklore of how the stars and days and nights are incorporated into like our superstitious thinking. It's a very simple graphic, but the actual inspiration in it is like being washed into your destiny. You know, it's like if you're lost at sea, the waves will push you into where you're supposed to be found, which is also kind of going back to the idea of how the first Chinese settled or got to Hawaii. I'm about to move to Hawaii soon, so I will be a Chinese Hawaiian as well. So I'll be wearing these clothes. We frequent Hawaii 5 times a year, and you know, we kind of make clothes just to wear there. So I think making creative works is trying to find a niche of things that are missing in the world. There's tons of graphic tees, there's tons of these brands now, and it's like, how do we use our heritage in storytelling to make clothing? And it's been an interesting journey.